This day 3 sort of min-max version of the Kinetic Blast of Clustering Necromancer has over 9,000 energy shield, suppression cap, max block and max spell block, full action speed immunity like Trickster does, permanent 5 flasks, not just 4 uptime, 116% increased rarity, and some amount of damage that's pretty much enough for anything in the entire game, including Juice Blight. Now this is the best clearing league starter I've ever played. It's okay for single target. I think my estimation is probably that it's got, I don't know, around 30-ish to 50 million in an open arena, and obviously approaching 100, 200 million with walls and, in like half the arenas in the game. There is one major weakness though, and that is the physical damage reduction versus attacks. It still has about 16 to 17,000 max fizz, which is not terrible. It's decent, but for an endgame character, that's not the best. Now there's ways to solve that, going flesh and stone, grabbing Arctic armor. I already do have endurance charges, but it's not really a problem I want to think about right now. This build is mostly set up to map really quickly and then do super juice blights, which I think is one of the only things left in the game for highly juiced content. And I'll get into that in a little bit in another video. If you're looking for progression about how to get to this stage, there's full footage all the way through and 2 previous videos I've talked about where I talk about the league start and the initial chaos slot. Both those things are very, very low investment. However, I did want to wait until releasing this. While there's a pretty big rift between the second video and this one, I think that any player that is able to get to this stage should be able to retrace kind of the steps, reverse engineer what's happening, and at least look at some of the principles that you can apply to yourself even at lower investment. Let's get into the POV. The first thing I want to talk about is actually the tree and Ascendancy, most importantly. So, for my Ascendancy, I went for this, Precursors Release All, and I've left all my boot sockets empty. The reason is because I don't really want to build full ailment immunity. On a Tempest Shield build, you're already shock immune, and all the immunities other than Chill and Ignite, or Chill and Freeze, you can deal with kind of manually. But Precursor Release is really nice because it gives you immunity not only to Chill and Freeze, but also to Delirium, T17 action speed, Drowning Orbs, all the super annoying things of the game that you kind of don't need at a baseline, but since T17s are really mandatory. You could just cast Temp Chains every 10 seconds. I don't want to do that. Next most important thing, Runegraft of Refraction. This is insane. So the downside, fires on most one projectile, is ignored by KB of Clustering, just in case, and I know a lot of you guys won't even read the skill gem. Kinetic Blast of Clustering can only shoot one projectile already, because sources of additional projectiles just apply to additional explosions. So extra proj is still good, because you want to have more explosions, but there's no downside of this. The upside is, not only do you get free fork, which you would otherwise need a gem for, you also get chain, which is really crazy for clear. And then for single target, I don't think there's any downside to the chaining. But oh my god, the clear on this has been insane. Even when I had my damage over here around 1.5 million, I was killing Simulacrum wave 30 with this Runegraft in, or not wave 30, but wave 15, Kosis and Omniphobia. They take like 5 seconds. It is just absolutely absurd what it can do for your clear damage. So it's really insane for like the majority of the game, which is mapping. This is probably my first priority upgrade. I would get this before Whispers. I would get this before like anything else on this character. It's expensive, but it's really, really good. All right, some other aspects of the tree. I'm now playing for a double cluster setup. I am playing a 3P Voices right now. I probably will change this into a 12P spell cluster. It's just that this is relatively cheap. This is only 25 divines, but a perfect spell cluster is somewhere in the range of like 300 to 400 divines to craft. But that's where I'm at for now. It's pretty good. It enables more jewels, and the jewels are really important, and I'll get into that with gear. Otherwise, you can see the tree is still fairly similar. I've dropped some ES in some places, dropped a little bit of chaos damage, but it's pretty standard as far as this tree goes. The other option is to play through the middle and go split personalities, but I kind of want to be suppression cap because I think at this level of gear, which isn't super high, it's about 1 to 1.5 mirrors total. I think that going for a right side-ish hybrid topside tree is pretty good. I mean, I'm still using a healthy mind. Let's talk about the gear. Let's go jewels first. My forbidden set I'm playing is Val Bastion. I was kind of deciding between a few. So Val Bastion is pretty solid. It opens up 1 flash suffix for me because I'm on Mage Blood, so I get stun immunity from this. Obviously, you get 75 block as a Necromancer. However, other nodes to consider. The Void Beacon, really crazy, especially if you're doing like Maven stuff. Profane Bloom can be good with Curse on Hit Gloves, or from elsewhere, I guess. These 2 Shapers are incredible defensively, especially Shaper of Flames, right? If my big issue is Fizz mitigation, then Shaper of Flames actually might be better. However, you run Elemental Element Avoidance maps, and it doesn't help against like degens or stuff like that, so I decided to just go for this. It's the most obvious and the easiest answer. The amount of ES you get is not incredible. It says I'm at 116 off tree, and this only gives me 75. But I do have almost 800 intelligence, which is a lot of increased ES, and you have 15% increased global defenses from this node. Next jewel, melding. I play a melding setup because for topside tree, I think it's hard to get mixed max res. Instead, I just go for max res on jewels, and also on a graft, I get +2 max res over here. I run, just max res jewels in each of these. One of them is corrupted blood immunity, really important for when you're playing chaos inoculation, because you don't play a life blast with cleansing. My watchers, I'm running clarity, mana's ES, and precision flask gain. This is really cool, if you don't know this already, but for mage blood builds, because these 4 flasks are always full, for the most part, unless you're doing flask stuff, all the charges that you gain from this feed into your need flask, which in my case is Rumi. So like on bosses, you have 100% uptime. While mapping, you have 100% uptime. Just when you're not doing anything, you might not have it up. And then lastly, I have a health bind. Pretty straightforward jewel setup, pretty strong. I think that a good spell cluster will be better though. The wand. If you go to my shorts, you can see how I crafted this wand, but basically fractured base essence craft. I'll link that in the description. The shield. This shield is super janky. I decided to go for this because basically because the tree's really starved. So I did pristine and dense fossils on a fractured spell damage. So the base was 7 divines, and then I spent another 2 divines on fossils and resonators. And that's the most likely / efficient way to hit both block and spell block. Once I had a number that was enough, I locked prefix, did a veiled chaos for double damage. Then I did a foulborn exalt. Foulborn exalt hits stun block recovery, which sucks. And then I just benchcraft suppress. There's other ways to do this. I mean, this could have just been like a multi-mod on suffixes, or maybe you just like redo suffixes over and over again until you get satisfied, but we'll see. The helmet. I bought this on trade. Chest Toilet Regalia. Really easy to do. There's a bunch of different ways to get triple T1 prefix. You can get it just from the tree itself. You can do Recombinator still. You can go dense fossil, but basically for this chest, finish prefixes first, then use Eldritch currency to craft suffixes. So Eldritch, I think Ichor. And then I just like spam Eldritch Chaos till I found 2 good suffixes. I needed 1 res, because you see my resistances are quite tight on this. Then benchcraft suppress as well. That endurance charge implicit is really great because it pairs well with this 100% increased duration mastery for perma endurance charges. Otherwise, Fizz is chaos OP because I'm chaos inoculation. Gloves. I also bought this on trade. I would probably ROG for gear like this. It's not like super crazy. It's 4 mod with like a benchcraft, right? Most important thing is that chaos leeches life and rage implicit. Now, why do I do this? Rage, obvious, right? It gives you rage for attacks. For the chaos implicit, it saves me these 2 nodes, technically, and I'm overcapped suppressed because I played Course Blast. Now, this probably isn't like min-max correctly. Maybe I go for like suppression implicit and then like change out one of the bench crafts and then just take these 2 nodes again for leech. And I do like this sometimes, but when I do certain content, especially content that's really tanky, I prefer to be able to take this and grab instant leech off this with repathing the tree, because this will actually increase your leech rate against monsters that are really tanky. But yeah, that's why I'm there right now. Not a lot of sources of generic attack leech that I can get on this tree. It would have been great to be able to, play a tattoo, but I don't have a single strength node allocated. This is also on trade. However, I need to recraft the boots. So the endgame boots for this are interesting. I mentioned earlier that I'm taking the all bloodline, right? And that says that I don't want to have any boots equipped. I think though I can use an abyssal socket and then still have an abyssal jewel inside here. So I do want to make an abyssal socket fractured boots that probably is abyss socket, suppression, and then probably T1 resistance or intelligence suffix, and then prefix wise should be actually really easy to do. Same thing, Eldritch Chaos until I hit high movement speed and mana. Last round here is an unset ring. I use this because I'm out of sockets. There's things I can move around, but for now we're stuck here. I might drop precision later, but we'll see. And then for the 2-3 uniques, I guess I have a Whisper's Infinity, I have a Chevron's Revelation with an implicit for all res, and a Mage Blood. Spell's pretty good. I mean, it is what it is. The flat setup I'm playing with Mage Blood, Bismuth Topaz, this is for helping out with melding, and then a Quicksilver with the rarity. I could be a lot faster with a move speed suffix, and then of course Flask with crit chance. I don't need stun immunity. I do need curse mitigation. That's over here on the Bismuth. And let's talk about these two graphs. Enervating Grasp. So this one gives me 2 max res. That's unconditional, just a flat stat. And it also drops like these balls on the ground, I think, or something like that. Like hands come out of them or something, and then they can sap enemies. I couldn't really think of what else I really wanted because I'm crit capped. A lot of people like the minion one, but I needed a graph that had +2 max lightning res. And there's only like a few of those, and all the defensive ones I pretty much can't use because I'm chaos inoculation. This thing, however, is interesting. If you get +4 of all skills, you get level 34. And what level 34 overcharged sinew says is you can get up to 10 stacks. Basically, you're always at 10 stacks of jolt. And basically, like, this gives you a buff that stacks up 10 times, instantly stacking for a crit hitting build. And each stack with level 34 gives you 3% more max attack damage and 1% increased damage taken. So 3 max per charge, 1 ink damage taken from you. You become a little bit squishier, but it is kind of worth it. I think for me, it's about 16% more damage just from the overcharged sinews alone, which isn't great actually, but it also gives you 40 crit multi on this setup and increased spell damage. So I think this thing's pretty solid, especially in the lower end. Something like this is really powerful. You can also get Jolt grants you crit chance if you're not crit capped. The gear is actually not like super complicated. The whole build is not that complicated in general. The tree is, I think, fairly straightforward. That's one of the things I really like how simple everything is, because the skill gems are like, you know, where everything happens, right? So again, it's still the same core setup. KBF clustering, I don't need fork support anymore because I have this insanely OP rune graph. Over here, you have your 2 spell slinger setups. These have not changed. Well, I did put VDF seeding in. The reason I put VDF seeding in now is because, well, I don't mind having alcohol gems in a not league starter if I don't need to. Like, every alcohol gem I put in a league start part of a league starter is just, you know, maybe 10 chaos more annoying for me, or like plus 2 hours to my SF playtime. VD seething doesn't change anything on bosses. It is helpful while clearing though. Basically, if I kill a pack of monsters and then I spell sling on top of that, then I blow up 30 corpses. And you only need 50 corpses detonated recently to be capped out at corpse pack. So this is much better for that. Spell slinger tornado bone offering is still over here. This is mandatory. You need to have tornado because fork tornado with return projectiles is what makes the skill do damage. If you don't do that, you will be weak. Over here, shield charge, faster attacks, frost blink, tempest shield. No changes still. Precision, ass mark on hit. I could move this around. Technically, I guess I could like manually cast my assassin's mark, stuff like that. And then I wouldn't need an unset ring. So I'll play around with that over the coming day or so, but yeah. And then finally an unset ring with clarity. And this is just to enable the Watcher's Eye. I could also just play a different Watcher's Eye, but I kind of like having that extra amount of ES because you can see it gives me like 833 energy shield. That's a lot, you know? But yeah, this is the kind of iteration of the build. It's pretty good. It's not like a perfect build. And I know like deep into endgame, it would be much better on the Templar once you start pushing like +1 mirror on top of this. However, I don't want to go for like the aim to god mana stack stuff, and I really want to have like a good league starter that feels good to play, that's fast, that shield charges really quickly. So here we are. This is the build. Let me know if you have any other ideas for progressing this thing within a reasonable budget, but pretty happy where this one is. I'm gonna play this out for a few more days, and then we'll probably look at Poison Kinetic Fusilid.